Live with the community. This is the Microsoft Power Platform Community Call for October. My name is David Warren with Microsoft, Community Program Manager in the Power Platform Community Success Team. Thank you all for attending today. We are so excited to have you here this month. Let's look at what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to have some latest updates and news on Power Platform. Todd Doubinski is going to share with us a monthly community tip. We're going to have the favorite picture time. We're going to click, click, click. And then we're going to have our all-star presenters of the day. So Eichel is going to cover Dataverse Dataflows as a sync mechanism. And then Tomish is going to talk about Power Automate, Microsoft Teams approvals, advanced scenarios. So very, very cool. And then what happened last week? Power Pages went GA. So Hugo Bernier is here, our favorite Power Pages community program manager, to share with us all of the goodness that was announced and how we can learn more and take advantage. But first, we want to remind you all that you are invited to present on this call. This is your call. We absolutely welcome everyone in the community to show tips, tricks, cool little things that they may have found useful within the Power Platform. We want everyone to have an opportunity to feel welcome, and we've made it easy on you. If you go to aka.ms/PPCC demo request, we invite you to just submit your information and we will absolutely reach out and get you into future slots. So don't hesitate to take advantage of this. Again, this is your community call. This is something that we want you to take advantage of and ensure that you feel a part of, because it is your community. Let's talk also about some samples. So I'll hand it over to April Dunham to tell us a little bit more about those.
Thanks, David. Yeah, so our Power Platform sample repo at aka.ms/Power Platform-samples is where you can go to not only find some of the great Power Apps, Power Automate, virtual agents, you name it, samples that you all in the community have created and shared with others, but also where you can share any samples that you might have. So whether it's a cool Canvas app you built or a Power Automate flow, Power BI dashboard, whatever you might have, share it with the community and let others benefit from it. So just go to that site there. You can put in your pull request, and we have sharing is caring sessions as well. If you've never submitted a pull request and want to learn how to do that you can sign up for as well to help you get started with that. Back to you, David.
Excellent. Thank you. Now, April had mentioned the Sharing is Caring program. Now, this is a program that we started to provide hands-on guidance. Now, you may be excited about all those samples. You may want to speak at these community calls, but you may be a little bit nervous about it. Maybe you've not done it before. Maybe GitHub is completely foreign to you, and you hear things like pull request and forking, and what are all those terms? They don't mean anything. Well, these programs, safe space opportunities for you to get more involved. And that means that we're going to do live, not recorded, live unrecorded sessions together and show you how to do it. We will be scheduling new sessions. We had the Power Platform Conference, as you all know. That was fantastic because of the amazing attendance that you all brought to it. And so now that that's passed, we're getting a lot more events and programs for the Sharing is Caring sessions scheduled. So keep an eye on that. We'll tweet out on it as well when we schedule those, but we want you to feel empowered. We're also starting to look at recording some of these. So some videos on demand that you can consume when is a good time for you, because we understand that it's hard to scale sometimes, and we want to ensure that you're able to obtain that information. And so we'll be setting up videos on demand that you can consume, along with opportunities to kind of schedule office hours with the team, so that if you get stuck, that you can absolutely schedule time with us to kind of walk you through it. And then we're going to be, again, scheduling those live sessions for you to take advantage of. So don't hesitate to keep an eye out. As April just put in the chat, we absolutely want to make sure that you're empowered to do that. Now, once you have contributed in a variety of ways, we want to recognize and celebrate the amazing work that you're doing. And so we have the Community Recognition Program. This is a program that will absolutely provide accredited and formal recognition. We powered with Credly, and you may say, Credly, that sounds familiar. That's the same Credly that you get those badges from when you get certified. We have partnered with Credly to provide community badges to celebrate and recognize the work that you're doing and thank you for the work that you're doing. And because it is Hacktober, we have generated a Hacktoberfest badge. So if you do any contributions in the month of October, and that means any, if you help update documentation, if you submit a sample, all kinds of stuff, you absolutely will get a Hacktoberfest badge. And it's only available this month. So definitely take advantage of that. If you have any questions on how you can get more involved, in fact, presenting is one of those, we would want to help you. And so don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us. But we do need you to opt in for the recognition program, just so that we can connect you to your GitHub account and a variety of other accounts and ensure that you are well taken care of there. So do not hesitate to do that. We want you to get more involved. Now let's take a look at some community shows and events. We're going to start out with the Low Code Revolution. We're going to invite April back to tell us about the most recent episode.
Awesome. Thanks again, David. Yeah, so I had the amazing opportunity to do the first live version of the Low Code Revolution at the Microsoft Power Platform Conference. Had a chance to sit down with the amazing Scott Duro and give his tips and tricks for Fusion development, so interjecting pro code and low code together with the Power Platform. So really great conversation with Scott at the conference. I love being able to finally do one in person and sit down with him in real life. So make sure to check that out. We have a ton of other episodes too with different community members and MVPs and all of that. So, and if you want to be a guest also, like Scott was, you can just go to aka.ms/low code revolution guest, and I'd love to have you on the show if you have something cool to demo. Thanks, David.
Awesome. Thanks, April. Now, another event that's coming up is the European Power Platform Conference. This is a super exciting opportunity. It's going to be June 20th through the 22nd next year. We are extremely excited about this, especially all of us having come off the Microsoft Power Platform Conference that just occurred in Orlando last month. This is going to be the European version, and we are super, super excited. And we wanted to let you know that the call for speakers is open. Now, this is obviously an opportunity for us all to get more involved. It closes on the 14th of December, so definitely go take advantage of that. You can learn more at sharepointeurope.com/submit to speak EPPC. So definitely an exciting opportunity. This is going to be close to some of you in Europe that weren't able to come over, and ideally we'll have some coming over to Europe from the States. And so it's, again, a wonderful opportunity for us to come together as a community and work together, collaborate, celebrate, see each other, have those lunch conversations and those hallway conversations that we've so dearly missed the last few years. That was one of the biggest and most exciting things for everyone that they were able to do in Orlando, and hugs, right? We all want to get some hugs, so we definitely look forward to that. All right, let's move on to some news. And for that, I'm actually going to invite Zenkar Desai to tell us about what's new with Power Apps.
Thank you, David. Hey, everyone. Very excited to talk to you about what was just released at Ignite last week, maker matching, which essentially allows all makers to connect to other makers in your organization directly in product via the chatbot. The way it works is once you open the chatbot, the content and resources presented are all Microsoft support documentation, and after that, maker matching gets enabled. So essentially, you can actually see all of your internal organization's community channels and also see who the other skilled makers are in the organization. So you can directly reach out to them via Teams or email. aka.ms/makermatch is where you can learn more about it. I will also paste in a link in the chat window to the blog that was just released to help you understand the feature more.
Awesome. Thank you, Zenkar. And she is a senior product manager with Microsoft, everybody. So we are powering up our everybody involved here. So we're excited to have you. Thank you, Zenkar. You'll see more of her coming soon as well. All right. Next up is our tip. And so for that, we'll hand it over to Todd Doubinski.
All right. Thanks, David. Okay, everybody. This month in the community quick tip segment, I'm excited to share a tip from George Doubinski. And no, I did not pick it because his last name sounds like mine. The tip is how to handle duplicate property names in JSON objects in Power Automate. So from time to time, you may encounter JSON objects in Power Automate flows that contain duplicate property names. Consider this object, for example. As you can see, the ID and name properties appear in multiple paths in the JSON object. To make this object maker-friendly, the common approach is to use the parse JSON action and derive the schema from the data itself. So you do that by clicking that button. When you do that, you can then use the properties as dynamic values in your Power Automate flows, like you see here. However, in this example, some properties have identical names. The ID and name properties in this example, even though, as we saw, their path is different in the JSON. If we put the mapping up and look at it side by side, here are those ID and name throughout the JSON, and here's what they actually map to. This can become confusing and make it hard to know what property maps to what value in the JSON object. So enter George's awesome quick tip. To make the properties easier to use in Power Automate Flow, the object schema can be enriched with the title and description annotations. You can see right there, I've put them in the little green boxes. In this example, we're describing the ambiguous ID and name properties. The result is a game changer. As you can see, this approach makes it easy to determine what each dynamic property correlates to inside of the JSON object. And as George put it, now you can have your JSON and eat it too. I love his little stick figure there too. He looks like such a boss. So thanks again for sharing the tip, George. If you have a quick tip, please reach out to us and submit your idea and we will present it on the call. Thanks everyone. I hope this was helpful for you this month. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. And yes, thank you to all who are submitting for tips. So don't hesitate to do that. We want to see your tips, and we're looking for more ways to really showcase you all for the amazing things that you're doing. So please don't hesitate. All right, what time is it? Click, 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 click. Picture time. Let's get those cameras turned on, and I will share my camera here, and we will get this turned into together mode. There we go. Everybody looks fantastic. Okay. All right. I feel like we're all at like a sporting event, right? Like we kind of need to do some sort of like crowd clap, right? Like something like that. All right. Let's just wave to everybody in the community. Let me start recording. And let her go. Show everybody how awesome you are. We really appreciate you all. Fantastic. You look wonderful. Thank you for being the best part of our community as you are. So thank you very, very much. You look great. We'll get that shared out. Okay, let's get back to our slides here. All right, let's move into our amazing presenters of the day. So we're going to begin with Eichel on Dataverse Dataflows as a sync mechanism. Go ahead and take over.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here again. This is a long time from coming to the community calls to present something about Power Apps. My name is Eichel Mendoza. I'm a Business Applications MVP and also the Business Apps Team Lead at Intelequia Technologies. I'm also the author of the Power Apps Cookbook. It's a little project that I created with Pact, the editorial, to bring something to the world about some recipes, as the name implies, as the cookbook implies, some recipes about everything around Power Apps, Power Platform, Power Automate, some things that you can see to adapt to your use cases on your everyday projects, okay? You can find me on my almost all the time on Twitter. This is my handle, or you can find more information about me on Intelequia, that's the name of my company, or my blog, that is powerneighbors.com. Okay, I'm here to talk to you about Power Platform Dataflows. You can see here is a tool that Power Platform gives us to connect to services and get that information to Dataverse. As you can see, we have connectivity to cloud services, content, databases, APIs. No matter the service that you want to connect, even on local services that you may have on your organizations, you can use Dataflows to extract that information into Dataverse. The good thing that we have here is that we have an ETL that is extract, transforms, and load in this information or this data using Power Query. That is an amazing tool because you can have all the information from that data source, transform it to whatever do you need to use and put it there. And you can use multiple data sources in a single data flow for this kind of process, okay? This is all the slides that I have.
Hey, Eichel, before you jump into the demo.
So to prepare this demo too, so I can show you how it works. I prepared a simple SharePoint list with 10 persons here that you see all random people here with some identifier, just a number and the full name. Okay, so wrong link. Okay, so in the Power Platform we have something called data flows. You can find it here under Dataverse. You can go to Dataflows and you will be presented with this screen. Here I have 3 data flows to show you as an example to see how it works. And to use this data flows, I'm going to use the SharePoint list that I just showed you. And I created a solution here with a table that is called SharePoint data flow. The idea is to take that information from SharePoint to this table, okay? So it's an easy table that has the same columns that the SharePoint list has, an ID and a full name. And how can we create this data flow to take this data? We click here on new data flow, put in the name, platform, community call. This is easier. Okay. The great thing that I was telling you about Power Query is that we can get information from many data sources. As you can see here, you can use IBM, Oracle, MySQL, not only a service provided by Microsoft. In this case, we are going to select for this case SharePoint Online List because that's where we are getting this data. We can get from folders. In this case, it's a library. So we click that and then put the URL where the SharePoint list is located. Okay, I'm going to put the SharePoint URL. And there's something here in this specific case for SharePoint is that you can have one implementation of the connection. I recommend you to use the version number 2 because you can select from which view in SharePoint are you getting the data. This is useful because if you are creating a view for this data, you can specify only the columns you want. In this case, I only want the identifier and the full name, not the created by or the modified by or any other metadata, okay? So I'm going to select, just retrieve the columns from the default view in SharePoint list, okay? Once I put this URL, sorry, I forgot to put it completely, I need to create a connection. I'm going to delete this so you can see. You just simply need to select an existing connection, create a new one, put the name of this connection. If you need to get data from a local server, you will use a data gateway in order to collect that information. And the type of authentication in this case is going to be a Office 365 organizational account. So we click next. And once it gets that information, it will start showing me all the lists that you have on SharePoint. I'm going to find the data flows. You can use the filter here. I'm going to select this list, and it will show me the first part of the information if you have a long list. I'm going to click on transform data. So it will allow me to transform all this data. I can, for example, choose any column. I can select here and say, oh, I don't want the ID. I don't want this column. I don't want the other. I want all this information here transform. For example, you can click here and I don't know, all in uppercase, and it will adapt all this information before putting that into Dataverse. It's a great opportunity so you can handle all the information. I don't want customers from, I don't know, from one particular location, or I don't want only this type of data or on this time range, okay? So if I put this information here, you will see that I will be creating some steps here based on everything I want to do with this data. In this case, I get the source information, I navigate to this list, and I'm setting an uppercase for this column, okay? So it allows you to build some transformations. You can find more information about all the transformations that you can create here from the documentation. And once you click next, you will see that you have the possibility to create a new table once the data has been arrived to Dataverse, well, to the data flow. You can load the data to the existing table, or if you want, you are not going to load any data. We're going to see why this is a use case in the next example. I am going to select here my table, that is this one, SharePoint data flow, is the one that we see here. And I'm going to map the information. The full name goes here, the ID goes to this column, and the location, I'm not going to use that in this case. You can also select this check to delete the rows that are no longer in the query output. If I'm getting data that is always evolving or deleting from the data source, and you want that data to be deleted here in Dataverse, you can check this, and it will delete the information as soon as, well, as the data flow completes its refresh on Dataverse. It will slow down the process, but it's a good solution. Okay. If I click next, I will see some refresh settings about if I want to refresh manually. That's what we're going to do right now, or automatically. You can set a frequency based on days, minutes, numbers, or a specific day or times. For this example, I'm going to select manually, and I always recommend send refresh failure for the creator of the data flow, because if it fails, I want to be reminded of that. Okay. Once we finish with the data flow, it will build the data flow, and it's going to be published. Something like when we are working with Power Apps, you build the app and then you publish. And once it gets published, it will refresh. As you can see here, the next refresh is in progress. Everything went well with the data coming from SharePoint to from SharePoint to Dataverse, and it's now refreshing the data. If everything goes as expected, we should be seeing in a minute the information here. See if it works fast, because I need it to work fast. Okay, it did finish. If I hit refresh here, I see the data. As you can see, I hit the transformation to make every full name uppercase, and now it's uppercase. But what happens if everything is working well? I'm going to refresh the data. For example, you set the refresh method to be every day, for example. If I click refresh again, it will get the data from SharePoint again. I will put that again on Dataverse. That means that it will not check if the data is already there. It will simply pull the information from the data source and put it on Dataverse. That is not what we want. If I click here on the refresh, let's see. Okay, you see? Everything is duplicated. This is not what we want. We want the information, I'm going to delete it here, to be sync. So we have the data here. We have the data flows. This is the same data flow that we created just now. And I want to show you how can we do this. We can first get new data. We are creating a new query here. I'm going to select more, and I'm going to say, okay, let's do a new query to Dataverse. In this case, my organization is this one. I'm going to put it here, and I have the connection, and I'm going to select the table that I already have created on Dataverse. Let's see if it goes well. Okay, it's loading the data. Data flow. This one. And I'm going to create this connection. What it's actually doing now is having in my data flow both queries. One querying the data source in SharePoint, and the other one querying the data on Dataverse. So you can see here, we have no rows. We have no rows. And what are we going to do right now? We're going to create a merge query. What I'm going to say is, okay, I have data from SharePoint that I want to merge with Dataverse. Based on what? I have an identifier that is 1, 2, 3, these numbers, and I have this column created here. This is the thing that I don't like, because I need to find the ID. This is the one. And I'm going to say, you are going to merge using this column. What kind of join are you going to do? You can see here, if I hover over this type of kind of joins, you will see how are they working. How are we going to do? Left outer join simply puts the information from the left side compared to the right side. If everything is there, we're going to have it on Dataverse. if we select right order join, it will give me only the data that exists on the data source and on Dataverse by doing this merge. But I'm going to step over to this one that is that we want is left anti, rows only in left. What it means that if I get data from the data source to Dataverse, it will load that data there. But if tomorrow there is new data there, only those 2 records or 3 records that are in the data source are going to be coming to Dataverse. I'm going to select this one and click OK. We have a merge here. It will show you that this evaluation goes through Microsoft Service. And so you need to set it's OK. It's a privacy thing. OK, in this merge, what is telling me now? Everything on the left side is not on Dataverse. Everything in SharePoint is not on Dataverse. So it is working. If you click next, you will see we have all this data from my data flow. What we're going to do with this? We're not going to get the data directly from SharePoint. I'm going to reset this load setting and set do not load. I don't want the data from the Dataverse itself. Do not load. But I'm going to use the merge, the resulting from both a merge of both data. So I can go here, set this, and do the same again, the same mapping. Once I click publish, it will get the information from SharePoint that is new, that doesn't exist on Dataverse, and will start pulling that data to Dataverse. If I click again, it will see that data already exists in Dataverse. Let's do nothing. And if everything works as OK, it will show 10 records here. And if I execute the data flow again, it will show you again that there's only 10 records on Dataverse. Let's see if it works correctly. While this is working, you can just to let you know that the Power Query accepts information even from URLs, from APIs that show you complex information. One great thing that about this is that when you put that information in Dataflow, it actually learns from the data and shows you all the real good structure that you will need from this data. Let's see here. We already have 10 records. And if I click again here, well, this one, refresh, well, trust me, you won't see the duplicated data that we see on the first one. And that's about it. I hope you like my session.
Yeah, awesome, Michael. Really good adjustment as well on the little blips there. You're a pro, so thank you so much. There was great feedback and some comments, like you said in the chat. I'll let you look at those in the interest of time. Okay. We'll turn it over to Tomish for Power Automate and Microsoft Teams approvals and advanced scenarios. Take it over.
All right, so hello everyone. Yeah, there should be my slides somewhere here. So just a short introduction. My name is Nasz Poszytek from Warsaw in Poland, and I'm stoked to be here even more when I learned about the badge that is going to be given to all those contributors in October. So anyways, just in short words, I really love to work with Power Platform. I do it for over 4 years. I do lots of things around contributions like video recordings, blog posting. So if you'd like to connect with me and follow what I'm doing, then here are some hyperlinks. Just navigate to any of them, and I can take it from there. So if you'd like to ask me questions now or after the call, then feel free to reach out to me. All right, so I'm going to talk about the advanced scenarios in Power Platform approvals. And the first thing that we need to know is that the built-in Power Platform approvals, the Power Automate approvals that we can use in Microsoft Teams as well, they are working on Dataverse, of course, and there are a couple of tables which are taking part in the approvals. And by telling you this, I want to show you some scenarios that you cannot simply achieve by using the out-of-box functionalities. And so first of all, there is the main table that is called approval, which is storing like a header of the approval. So the information by the title, description, who has created it, and after the approval is completed, what was the outcome. Then the approval request is a table that stores information about every single task generated during the approval process, together with information to whom it is assigned, of course. Then the approval response is storing information about every single completed task. So information about who completed it, and what was the outcome, and what was the comment. Now, then the user table is used to combine all these tables together because it has to map the AAD information to Dataverse information about the users. And the flow approval table is the most important one in terms of those custom scenarios because it holds information about every single action in every instance of a flow that contains an action related to approval. So if you have a flow that has start and wait for an approval, it will contain just one entry in the flow approval table. If you have two actions like start an approval and then wait for an approval, then it will contain these two rows here as well. And then one of the most important things, one of the most important data which is stored in flow approval is a flow notification URI column that once you post a JSON, whatever, post request to that flow notification URI, it will resume the flow that is waiting for that approval to be completed. And so when speaking about the scenarios that we're going through, you have to be aware that first, approvals are environment related, so that there is no like a general storage for all approvals in all the environments you have. They're stored in Dataverse as mentioned, therefore they're really environment related. And furthermore, those actions which are waiting for the approval to be completed, both speaking about Power Automate, like wait for an approval and wait for like adaptive cut to be response from the adaptive cut, they only wait 30 days. So, but it doesn't mean that the approval data is removed from the Dataverse. No, it's not. And therefore, what I will be showing you can as well be used to create some really long-running workflows, which can even take like years to be completed. So there are a couple of scenarios, like when the task is created, Power Automate is writing to two tables, so into approval and approval requests, some specific information. Then in terms of the completion, then the information is stored in approval responses, so all those information about completed tasks, and in approval table, it updates the record with outcome and daytime information, and some statuses as well. Then speaking about the reassignment, the only things that are happening within the approval request tables, like one task is being deactivated, the other one task is being created, record is being deactivated, the other one is created. And when speaking about the reassignment and what we can do out of box, there are like principles which Power Automate is following, or maybe the current approvals API. So first, user cannot reassign a task which is not assigned to themselves. So you cannot reassign others assignees tasks. Also, you cannot reassign a task yourself. Why would you? And you can't reassign a task to the initiator, so to the person who started the approval process. But what I will be showing you can be overcome. I mean, those principles can be overcome with custom actions that you can do on the approvals table, obviously. And lastly, when a task is cancelled, then the original information is updated again in approvals table with the outcome that is cancelled and the result that is cancelled. And so that's it. It's not thank you. It's just that I will be now jump over to demos because they're way more interesting. So first information, I have like a couple of flows running here, which have already assigned tasks. And they're quite simple. They're just assigning a task, generating me or returning me this task approval ID, which I need to grab for the future scenarios. This first task or this first workflow, I will just show you how you can complete any running approval. Like no matter if it is already completed or, well, it has to, sorry, whether it's waiting for one approval or whether it's waiting for 10 approvals. The point is about the approvals also important is the fact that if you choose the approve, reject, everyone must approve, it will be waiting either for the first rejection or first approve or all the approvals. If you choose the approve, reject, everyone must approve, but custom responses, then it will be always waiting for everyone who is assigned a task to complete their task. And this might be a bottleneck in many scenarios. Just imagine if someone is on holidays or is on a sick leave and they just cannot complete their tasks. But on the other hand, you are not able to reassign these tasks or let others to complete these tasks. So what I will be showing you is to help you create those really advanced approvals that can handle such scenarios. So right now I'll navigate to the workflow which is going to complete any approval. Its mechanism is quite simple. I mean, it is and it is not. The very deep details are on my YouTube channel if you'd like to follow and to get into details. So first of all, the workflow is taking information about the approval itself, about all the assigned tasks, and information about the tasks which are already completed. So like if I go now to list of my assigned tasks and I'll just complete one of these which are assigned in this approval process. There is no. So maybe I'll go to another user who should have that task assigned to him. Oh, there it is. So he'll complete. Yep, and that's done. It's done. Yes, it's done. So anyways, this flow is now, will take us for information about the completed tasks, and then it is reaching out to the table to get the flow approval, into the flow approvals table to get the information about the flow notification URI. Now, what I found out is that if you have the same scenario as I do have, so that you have like two actions, one is assigning an approval, the second one is waiting, there are two records, although only the first one, so for the first action, is having the same GUID as the approval. The other one is not having the same GUID, but is having the same sequence ID. It is called the flow sequence ID. And therefore, if after trying to get the flow notification URI with the first attempt, with the first action, using the approval ID, I am getting nothing, so that the flow notification URI is empty, I'm doing the second call to check if there is a flow notification URI available for the flow run sequence ID that I was able to obtain from the first call. And that's just the most maybe cumbersome piece. There is as well here in that part of going through the approval responses, some logic, because I'm just building the request body that is going to be sent to the flow notification URI, and that request body is following simply the schema of the JSON which the action wait for an approval is expecting, so that this, if the schema is matching, then the response will be turned into those dynamic outcomes and you will be simply able to use them in next actions in your Cloudflow. And so finally, after all this data is obtained, the flow is marking the existing approval as completed, then is building the request body that is in the end going to be sent to this flow notification URI. So just let me show you how this can be done. I'll now trigger this workflow by providing that flow by that approval ID. And here we go. So, oh, and by the way, this request body that you are sending the flow notification URI, it can be literally anything. It just has to be a valid JSON, and it is being returned one-to-one through the action is waiting. So if I say now approve, then this outcome is going to be stored in Dataverse, and it will be as well returned by the action which is now waiting. So let me navigate here. You see now the information is that if my flow runs successfully, and when I go through the outcomes, I can see that there is my outcome just written, the response summary, because John Researcher has already approved their task, and there were no other responses. And even though that the approval was waiting for like 3 responses or the first rejection, it is already completed. The second scenario I wanted to show you before I move on to the third one, if I still have time, is the reassignment, because one of those things I found the most important when speaking about the workflows is that whenever we have that approval process waiting for multiple assignees for their responses, we really can, as mentioned before, we really can very easily find ourselves in a bottleneck. I mean, the process can meet that bottleneck because some of these approvers are simply unavailable at the moment they are requested, or they just want to spend some more time on doing whatever. And we might first think that, okay, so if that person is not available, maybe we can reassign this task to someone else. Or you would like to create an automated process, which is just working on substitutions, so that it's running like daily and it's checking the absences list, and then is reassigning tasks to substitutes. Or maybe we just want to reassign that task to ourselves because we want this workflow to be completed fast, and we know that those assignees will just procrastinate for whatever weeks. So anyways, the reassignment task works this way, that it is obtaining or getting the information about the current assignee and the new assignee. It is as well getting information about the existing task details, because in the end, it has to create a new entry in approval requests table that simply looks up the existing approval request. And once this new approval is created, when this new entry is created with the new assignee, then the existing one is simply set to reassigned, stage complete, and status inactive. So now once I hit and test it, I as well need to navigate back to another example. I think it was that one. This task, yes, it's reassigned task. You see this assigned just to 2 employees. So like John Researcher doesn't have this task assigned. And now I'll get the approval ID. And where was that? Here, I think. Yeah, it was here. So I want to reassign my task to John and run it. So just to show you, I have this reassigned task present. Meanwhile, John has, but it's the old one, so I can simply cancel it, and it will not, sorry, not cancel, but reject it, but it will not terminate the workflow here, right? So the workflow is still running. So it means that it wasn't that instance. The instance this task was coming from was terminated or canceled before. So still the workflow is waiting. And this task that I have here assigned, so just note 33 minutes ago, and I'll refresh, and I should not see it, right? So it's gone from my list. However, when I switch to John's list of tasks and now refresh his, you'll see that right here, this task now appeared. So now if I reject it here, whatever, I'm not very creative, it will now complete the workflow, this workflow, yep, because it is set to wait for either or approvals or first rejection. So in that case, the outcome is reject because John, to whom it was reassigned, decided to reject the task. Okay, so all right, so I mean, the last example I would like to show you was about how to create this kind of scenario where you have a workflow running and you have it assigned to like 5 assignees or 10 assignees, but you want to complete it after a specific quota of responses is met. That is the same as we used to have in SharePoint workflows, these are SharePoint design workflows, so that you really need to wait just for the specific percentage of approvals to be collected. And that is basically following the same scenario or the same steps as I showed you in the first example. The only difference is that I as well have a table that in this scenario is used to store information about what is the percentage of tasks that has to be made so that the whole approval is collected. And then you can imagine that there is a workflow which is being triggered every time there is a change that is happening inside the approval responses table. And it is simply checking if the number of responses to that specific approval process is already equal or above the defined quota. And then if it is above the quota or equal or above, then it is simply following the same scenario as in the first example. So it is just completing the workflow by posting the request body collected from the approval responses table with all the details of all the given responses, and is marking the approval as a completed one. So I'll just not go through the details and with the demo. Thank you very much for this opportunity to showcase this, and I really think this has a very much of the potential. Unless we are given some cool approvals API that we can just do it out of box, what I'm showing you. As long as there is no such API, then well, you need to have premium licenses and take it from here. So if you have any questions, I'll be here on the chat to answer them for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, a lot of information here, folks. We put Thomas has done a lot of videos as well, so you'll find that link in the chat. Don't hesitate to take a look there, and we'll have him back again to talk a little bit more about it. So, Hugo, maybe you can give us a little overview of what was announced last week.
Yeah, no problem. I'm not going to go really fast. No problem. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Hugo, and today I'd like to talk to you about Power Pages general availability. Right. So far, we've already talked about how if you wanted to build apps in Power Apps, you had to do internal apps using Canvas and Model Apps, and if you wanted to do external websites, you only had access to Power Apps portals. But what we have announced as of, well, I guess it was available on October 10th, but we announced it on October 12th, is Microsoft Power Pages is available. And so now you can actually build websites that are connected to your Dataverse data and your Power Platform environment in general, and do some really, really cool stuff, right? The one thing I just want to make sure that we are all clear is that Power Pages is really designed for the Fusion team, the whole family, right? This is not, like, if you think about it, we're not trying to allow just anybody to randomly create a public website that has access to your data. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it easy for you to connect to your data. And so there's a few things that are available here. And we've covered some of these. I'm going to try to focus on what's new. So we have that new fancy, editing studio, which allows you to view the navigation and edit the navigation. And you can actually add pages from there. Once you add pages, there you go. Let's just add a page. Right, you can add a page and you can pick the template you want. You can pick custom templates as well. But once you've added the pages, then you'll have sections in your page. And you can actually add various sections. So let's just show you what I'm talking about here. So you can add sections to the page, and the sections will allow you to control things like the layout, right? So how many columns do I want? 1, 2, 3 columns, 1/3, 2/3, spacer, and stuff like that. And then once I have a section created, so let's just add one, then I can actually pick the bunch of components that are available to me. So right, text, buttons, images, things like that. But wait, if you order now, you also have the ability to select some additional stuff. Now, a little secret here, or maybe it's not a secret, you'll see there's like the 3 dots on the right there. Right there, where is it? Come on, right there. So that actually gives you some extra features, and you can see there's lots of room there for more stuff. So keep an eye out for new stuff to come. But one of the cool things that's available now in Power Pages that we didn't have in the preview version is that if you go to, there you go, if you go to the corner there of the page, actually, let's just show you the other pages. We're going to go faster here. So again, you can always see the preview of the content of the page. And that's really what we call what you see is what you get, right? And this whole ability to preview the stuff that you are doing. Now, let's see if I can show you this super quickly. So if you go to a page, you can actually control some settings of the page, right? And we'll skip moving stuff into navigation, stuff like that. But in the page settings, there's one thing that we didn't have again in the preview that we want to show you now is that you have the ability to control who can see what pages and based on what roles you've created. And you see we have some standard roles like authenticated users, administrators. We also have custom roles. You can create custom security roles so that you can control, again, who should see what. Now, there's also the styling space. In the styling space, we've already talked about the styling space where it allows you to pick themes and edit themes and fonts and colors and stuff like that. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. The one thing that is really cool now is that you can actually go into the styling space and manage your cascading style sheet. And you can see here there's already 3 Bootstrap style sheets that are applied with a theme and a Portal Basic theme. You can upload your own custom style sheet. Again, I'm not expecting makers to be, who are just getting a new, becoming familiar with, CSS and JavaScript and HTML to do that. But if you have a corporate style guideline that you want to follow, it's a good idea to upload your own custom CSS. Again, it's Bootstrap, so it's standard. We also have the data workspace, and we've talked about the data workspace in the past, but if for those of you who are familiar with Dataverse, we can do the same stuff that we would go in a Dataverse environment, go create tables and things like that. But here I can do that directly from within the data workspace to control what data I want to show within my website. Let's go to the setup workspace. In the setup workspace, we've got a whole bunch of options that we can do, but there's a few things I wanted to show. One of the things is that we now have the ability from here to be able to do things like custom domains, CDN, for faster delivery of content, IP restrictions, and things like that. The new go live checklist is actually a checklist, obviously, of things that you can do before getting ready. And I'm not going to go through all the checklist. I just want to show you something else really cool. Right here, so we have the ability here to, I'm going to just customize this quickly. Right here, we have the ability to create progressive web applications from the site. And so you might say, what's a progressive web application? Well, if you've actually used Twitter, Uber, what else? Flipkart, and so on and so forth, you've probably used a progressive web application. It's a website that's hosted as an app. All right, I've got like 2 minutes left. Let me see if I can wow you a little bit with this new cool feature. I can actually go to a page now. And let's say I look at this page, and it's like, yeah, it looks kind of cool, but let me preview it. And it's kind of boring, right? It's missing some fun stuff. I want to do some animation. I want to do something. Well, guess what? Now we have the ability to actually use Visual Studio Code and GitHub and all this fun stuff to integrate. I'm going to go to a cool site called Animista. And Animista allows me to find animations. And really, if you've ever been there, you'll see, or if you haven't been there, you'll see how awesome it is. So animista.net, you go there, you pick an animation that suits your needs. And then let's see if I can speed this up a little bit. You pick an animation that suits your needs, and then you basically click on the copy button, right? Copy the CSS class. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my page. I'm going to click on Edit Code right here, which is going to open Visual Studio Code for me. And it gives me a standard disclaimer just to scare me, right? It's going to go to Visual Studio Code, and then from here, it's going to actually give me access to the CSS, the JavaScript, and the HTML for that page. And I have full control over that, right? So CSS for the style, JavaScript for any code logic that's client side, and of course the HTML itself. And then if I'm gonna kind of skip this a little bit and I copy the code that I just pasted from my Animista site. I'll go copy the keyframes, which is the animation from CSS. And then if I go save that, so I save that like I normally would, and I go back to my site, I'm going to get something that looks like this. Come on. You can do it. There you go. So now I go back in sync. I preview my page. It knows that I'm trying to speed up now. That's why. So I'm going to preview my page quickly. And when I can preview it, you'll see that that fancy animation that I copied and pasted from Animista is going to be now available. So when I mouse over a card, come on, mouse over a card. You can do it. There you go. Mouse over a card. I have that subtle animation that I've just created. So again, that was a super quick tour of some of the new features that we have available in Power Pages. Power Pages is available. There's a new licensing model. We'll talk about it next time. But go forth and webify. That's it for me. Back to you, David.
Excellent. Thank you, Hugo. Let's share out our slides and wrap this up. Thank you again to all of our amazing community presenters, Eichel, Thomas, and Hugo. Really appreciate it. Let's look at our resources. You are able to utilize all these resources. There are training resources, Power Apps community samples, videos, and plenty. So don't hesitate to take advantage of those, and you can utilize that as your community. We want you to get more involved. As we are having this call, there are many more calls available to you. The Microsoft 365 platform call is available to you. And there are adaptive cards, Microsoft Identity Platforms, Office add-ins, Power Platform, which you are on right now, and then the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development biweekly call and Viva Connections. You can access all these calls at aka.ms/m365/calls. The recording will be available for this within about 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 Community YouTube channel. You can access that at aka.ms/m aka.ms/m365pnp/videos. If you subscribe, you'll be the first to know, and so we want you to take advantage of that. You will not be able to download it from the Teams channel, so please don't try. It's only available for those internal to Microsoft, but you will absolutely be able to get it from the YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev, at M365PNP, and the next call will be November 16th, 2022 at 8 a.m. Pacific. You can download it aka.ms/Power Platform Community Call. Thank you, everyone, for a fantastic call, and have a wonderful rest of your week.